Have you ever noticed that the people you used to see all the time suddenly seem to be around less and less? Maybe phone calls aren't as frequent, invitations feel rare, or conversations just don't flow like they used to. It's a tough feeling, and it can leave you wondering, why is this happening? You've lived a full life, seen the world change, raised families, and built lasting memories. But lately you might have noticed something that's hard to ignore. Calls become less frequent, visits start to dwindle, and people you once saw often seem to be drifting away. It's confusing, and honestly, it can feel pretty lonely. If you're over 70 and wondering why friends and family seem to be avoiding you, don't worry, you're not alone. The truth is, there are subtle habits and behaviors that can unintentionally push people away, even when you don't mean to. The good news? These are things you can fix, starting right now. In this video, we're going to explore the reasons why this happens and share simple, practical ways to reconnect with the people who matter most. Because getting older shouldn't mean feeling isolated or forgotten. It's about staying connected, valued, and loved. So stick around. What you learn here could make all the difference in how your relationships grow in the years ahead. Habit to break number 1. Letting negativity take the wheel. By the time you've journeyed through 7 decades of life, you've earned your stories, the triumphs and the trials. You've faced health scares, watched the world change in ways both awe-inspiring and unsettling, and seen your fair share of disappointment. Those experiences matter. They shaped who you are. But when every conversation turns into a cloudy forecast of complaints, it can quietly push others away. Negativity is contagious in ways we often don't notice. A casual chat can quickly become heavy if it's always centered on what's wrong with the world, the younger generation, or the way things used to be. Over time, friends and family may begin to associate time with you, not with warmth and wisdom, but with emotional weight. It's not that they don't care, it's just hard to repeatedly engage when every visit leaves them feeling worse. That doesn't mean you should pretend everything is fine when it isn't. Your feelings are real and being honest about them is healthy. But dwelling in a constant state of complaint doesn't offer comfort. It creates distance. People want connection, inspiration, and even a little laughter. A shift in tone from criticism to curiosity, from defeat to shared stories, can make all the difference. So how do you pivot? Start small. Notice your patterns. Before sharing another frustration, ask yourself, is there something positive I could bring to this conversation? Maybe it's a memory from your youth that sparks laughter, a compliment for someone's efforts, or even a simple, sincere thank you. Positivity doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means choosing to highlight the good with as much passion as the bad. And here's the beautiful part. Your voice still holds power. At 70 and beyond, your words carry depth, perspective, and history. Use them to light the way for others. Share the wisdom that comes from weathering life's storms. But don't forget to point out the rainbows too. Let your presence remind people not just of what's wrong with the world, but of what's still right with it. In the end, people don't avoid negativity because they're uncaring. They avoid it because they're already carrying their own weight. When they seek your company, let it be a place of refuge, not rumination. A smile, a story, a shared moment of joy. Those things don't just make others feel better. They remind you of the richness still waiting in everyday life. Habit to break number 2, offering advice that wasn't asked for. With age comes experience, and with experience comes wisdom. You've walked through enough of life to spot trouble before it even arrives, and it's only natural to want to shield those you love from the same mistakes you've made. But there's a fine line between sharing wisdom and crossing into unwanted territory, and it often lies in one simple question: did they ask for it? For younger generations, unsolicited advice, even when wrapped in love, can feel like a subtle form of disapproval. You might see your children raising their kids differently, spending money in ways you wouldn't, or making life choices that leave you scratching your head. But when you jump in to correct them, even gently, it doesn't always come across as helpful. It feels like judgment, not support. The same holds true in friendships. A well-meaning suggestion about how someone should eat, live, or manage their time can feel more like a lecture than a lifeline. And when every interaction becomes a moment of critique, people start putting up emotional walls. They may answer your calls less often or share less about their lives, not because they don't love you, but because they don't want to feel small in your presence. So how do you share what you know without pushing people away? First, lead with respect. Ask if someone is open to hearing your perspective before you offer it. Try, would it help if I shared something I learned about that? Rather than jumping straight into correction mode. When you get their permission first, they're more likely to listen and appreciate what you have to say. And remember, silence can be just as powerful as words. Sometimes the best way to help is to be a patient, compassionate listener. Let your presence be a safe space where people feel accepted, not evaluated. Your wisdom doesn't lose value when it's held back for the right moment. It actually gains it. Here's the truth. People don't shy away from your advice because they think you're wrong. They pull back because they want to be seen, not fixed. When you share your insights with kindness, curiosity, and consent, you become a guide they run toward, not away from. In doing so, your words won't just be heard, they'll be cherished. Habit to break number 3, shutting down in the face of change. Change doesn't slow down for anyone, not even for those who've lived long enough to remember a world before smartphones, streaming, or self-checkout lanes. It's easy to long for the familiar, for the days when life felt simpler and routines were clearer. But one of the most isolating habits that can creep in with age is resisting the changes that shape today's world. You might not even realize it's happening. It's in the sighs when someone brings up the newest gadget, or the comments about how things were better back then. It's in the eye rolls at new music, the scoffs at new fashion, or the refusal to learn how to use a smartphone. While those reactions might seem harmless, over time they send a message. I'm not interested in your world, and that can quietly build distance between you and the people you care about. The truth is, you don't have to understand every trend or jump on every bandwagon, but showing a willingness to learn, even just a little, can keep you connected to the people around you. Younger generations especially want to feel like you're open to who they are and how they live. When every conversation becomes a defense of the past, it leaves no room for curiosity about the present. Technology is a perfect example. It may feel intimidating or even unnecessary at times, but embracing just a few basics, like texting, using a video call, or navigating a social media feed, can be the bridge that keeps you involved in your grandchildren's lives, your community's events, or your friend group's plans. It's not about replacing your old ways. It's about expanding them to stay included in a fast-moving world. Think of it this way. Curiosity is not just a youthful trait, it's a timeless one. Asking questions like, how does this work? Or what do you like about that? Turns frustration into fascination. It makes people feel seen and heard, and in turn, they'll make the effort to keep you in their circle. People aren't asking you to be trendy. They just want you to be open. Imagine this. Your granddaughter just got a new job and wants to celebrate with a video call, but you've never used Zoom and don't like the idea of it. Still, you give it a try. With her help, you log on, see her smiling face, and she gives you a virtual tour of her new office. Suddenly, you're part of the moment. In it, not just hearing about it later. That single click of openness created a memory. That's the magic of adapting. It keeps you part of the story, not just watching from the sidelines. And here's a little secret. Adapting doesn't mean losing who you are. It means growing into someone who can thrive in any era. When you show that you're flexible, interested, and eager to engage, you don't just stay relevant. You stay connected, respected, and remembered as someone who made every generation feel welcome. Habit to break number 4, taking without tending. As we grow older, it's only natural to need more support from the people around us. Slower movements, health challenges, and changing energy levels can make daily life more difficult than it used to be. But over time, that dependence can quietly turn into expectation, where help is no longer appreciated, just assumed. You may not even notice it happening. Maybe you expect your children to check in every day, or assume your neighbors should always offer a hand with the groceries. Maybe you lean heavily on friends to listen when you're having a tough day, but rarely ask about theirs. This kind of imbalance doesn't always show itself right away, but over time, it wears down relationships. Imagine this. Your adult son picks you up each week to help with errands. He's balancing work, family, and his own responsibilities. One day he's running late and forgets something on your list. Instead of thanking him for showing up at all, you scold him for the oversight. It may seem minor, but to him, it feels like nothing he does is ever good enough. That one moment might not break the bond, but repeated often enough, those little moments can chip away at the closeness. People are much more willing to show up when they feel appreciated, not obligated. This doesn't mean you have to return favors in equal measure, but it does mean staying mindful of what you can offer. A warm thank you, a sincere compliment, or simply being emotionally present in a conversation can go a long way in making others feel seen and valued. Think of it this way. While your ability to physically give back might change, your emotional generosity doesn't have to. Asking someone how they are doing, listening with care, or surprising them with a kind gesture keeps your relationships alive and mutual. Gratitude is the glue that holds people together. Without it, even love can feel heavy. The truth is, people don't pull away because they no longer care. They pull away when they feel invisible or taken for granted. By being thoughtful about what you bring into a relationship, whether it's time, kindness, or appreciation, you ensure that the people who care for you continue to feel just as cared for in return. Habit to break number 5, living too much in yesterday. Imagine sitting at a family gathering surrounded by laughter and lively conversations. Your children are swapping stories, your grandchildren are sharing their dreams, and friends are talking about current events. But every time you speak, the room quiets. Not in admiration, but in silent anticipation of yet another tale from decades ago. You don't notice the way eyes glance at the clock or how the energy dips, because to you, those stories still feel fresh. To them, however, it's the 10th time they've heard about the job you had in 1968 or how bread only cost a nickel. There's something warm and grounding about remembering where we came from. Our stories hold value. They're how we make sense of our lives and how we pass wisdom along. But sometimes holding too tightly to the past can create distance instead of connection, especially when it becomes the focus of every conversation. It's tempting, especially in our later years, to lean into those familiar tales. The old neighborhood, the way things used to be, the struggles you overcame. They're part of who you are. But when every chat turns into a history lesson or a comparison between then and now, it can leave others feeling left out of the present moment. Picture this. Your granddaughter shares her excitement about starting her first remote job, and instead of asking her more about it, you respond with, "We didn't have that luxury back then. We had to walk miles just to find work." While your experience is valid, she might walk away feeling unheard or even discouraged from opening up again. These moments, though unintentional, can quietly build emotional walls. People want to feel like their lives matter to you today, not just as extensions of your past. When the focus always drifts back to what used to be, it sends a quiet message that what's happening now isn't as interesting or important. And over time, people, especially younger ones, may stop sharing with you, not because they don't care, but because they don't feel understood. So how do you strike the right balance? Use the past to enrich, not dominate, the present. If a memory fits the moment, share it, but keep it brief and let the conversation return to now. Ask questions about what's going on in others' lives. Show that you're still curious, still present, still growing. And remember, your story isn't over. You still have time to write new chapters, to try something new, to learn a skill, to make a new friend. The people around you want to know who you are today, not just who you were. Keeping your heart and mind open to the present keeps relationships vibrant and meaningful for everyone involved. Habit to break number 6, ignoring personal boundaries, even with good intentions. Getting older often comes with a deeper understanding of life, but it can also bring blind spots, especially when it comes to respecting the personal space of others. Whether it's family, friends, or neighbors, everyone, regardless of age, needs room to breathe, think, and live without constant interference. Sometimes with age comes the assumption that your role or presence should always be welcomed without question. It might show up as expecting daily phone calls from your children or unannounced visits that interrupt someone's already full day. The thinking might be, I'm family. They should be glad I'm involved. But in reality, these actions can come across as overstepping, not caring. You may also find yourself asking personal questions that feel harmless to you, but intrusive to someone else. Asking about finances, relationships, or private decisions without invitation can create discomfort. Even with good intentions, crossing emotional or physical boundaries can lead others to feel overwhelmed or drained rather than supported. What many people don't realize is that emotional boundaries matter just as much. Constantly leaning on the same person to vent frustration or loneliness can take a toll. While sharing feelings is important, it should be mutual, not one-sided. People are often willing to listen, but not if they feel like your emotional weight is theirs to carry alone. When boundaries are overlooked repeatedly, people begin to protect themselves, not through confrontation, but through distance. Calls stop coming, invitations slow down, conversations stay surface level. And when that happens, it's easy to misinterpret it as neglect or disrespect, when it's really just self-preservation. So how can you strengthen connection without stepping on toes? Practice self-awareness. Ask before visiting. Don't take delayed replies personally. Pay attention to cues. If someone seems reserved, consider whether you've given them the space they need to feel safe and respected. And remember, boundaries are not walls to shut you out. They're guideposts that help relationships grow in healthy ways. Respecting someone's space, physically, emotionally, or socially, shows maturity, empathy, and love. The truth is, people are more willing to be close to you when they know they're not being smothered or pushed. When you honor boundaries, you become someone they choose to be around, not someone they feel obligated to manage. That choice makes all the difference. Respect is a quiet language, but it speaks volumes. And when people feel seen, heard, and respected, they don't pull away. They lean in because they know their space is safe with you. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, growing older doesn't mean losing connections. It means finding new ways to keep them strong. By becoming aware of these common habits and making small changes, you can bring warmth, joy, and closeness back into your relationships. Here's a takeaway. It's never too late to improve how you connect with others. Sometimes all it takes is a little self-awareness and a willingness to listen, respect, and adapt. Those small steps can make a huge difference in how people respond to you and how fulfilling your relationships become. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might benefit from hearing this message. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss tips on living your best life at any age. And I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing you'll try starting today to strengthen your relationships? Drop a comment below and let's keep the conversation going. You're not alone on this journey. Let's walk it together.